Shannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we have Shannah Kennedy here today. And look, we'll dive into lots of different things that, your history and what fires you up and what you do. But in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Shannah Kennedy?
Well, I am a very calm, grounded, confident life coach, executive strategist, really. And over 20 years, I've really developed a methodology that's going to give you clarity, purpose and direction and a bit of a roadmap for your life, because I think a lot of people have not done that. And my journey to get here is really varied and different and all for a reason that actually I came to be here today.
Cool. So, all right. So what's your background? Like, where did you grow up? Is it a big family, close family? Like, where did you come from?
I grew up in Waverley. Waverley.
Cool.
My family's a Dutch family, so we
yeah.
had this work ethic punched into us from day one, like just work hard and everything will be great. So it was really ground into us, probably a little bit too much. It was a little bit detrimental for me. And when I finished school, I didn't go to uni because I wanted to go to work. I was like hell bent on. I'd watched Wall Street, the movie, fell in love with Gordon Gekko, and I said, I'm so going to be a stockbroker. So I did my work experience at school on the stock exchange floor, which back in the old days, I'm showing my age, it was when everyone was running around the floor like crazy. And my job was to get the ticket out of the machine and run through the crowd to the man in the red, and then he'd go and buy.
That's so funny.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
Why would you go to uni when you could go there?
Yeah, you can literally run to get your job done.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So I got a job there. I rang the HR lady like every single day for 2 weeks until she couldn't stand me and knew that I would never stop. So
That's hustle.
I hustled.
That's the definition of hustle.
I was super hungry
Yeah.
to get onto that floor.
Yeah.
Really, really hungry. So I started in the filing department, basically, in the dungeon with no windows, old stinky contract notes.
Rising damp on the walls, dripping from the ceiling.
Just dust everywhere.
Gotcha.
And I worked my way up to be one of the first girls to sit on that trading desk and get right up there. So
Cool.
it was a really exciting time. And they said, you're only 20 and you don't have a degree and you're a girl. And so I went, you're doing a great job, but, all of these things. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to change my gender. So what I did is I left.
Gender fluidity wasn't as big of a thing back in the day.
20 years ago, God, no. So I actually went and travelled the world for a couple of years with my backpack. And
Great.
Went to like 50 countries.
Amazing.
Worked in the Swiss Alps, got the Swiss ski instructor boyfriend, had the best time ever. Came back and really saw stockbroking for what it was in the 80s, the late 80s, which was a bit more like the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
And I said, I actually don't like this environment and I don't want to be here. So I got a job with a lawyer who was very passionate about golf, and he said to me, do you want to know how to run a business from the ground up? And I'm like, hell yes. When things are a hell yes.
Yep.
So off I went, and he taught me everything about negotiating contracts, running corporate golf days, going on tour with the golfers, negotiating all these sponsorship deals, and running a business. So that was a really great gift for me. And then a sunglass company saw me at the golf and they said, we love how you do business. We need a sponsorship manager. We've got 200 athletes. And I was a bit of a fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
remember,
for sure. You have to be.
I still haven't studied, remember?
Yeah.
So, but I was really the A-type overachieving perfectionist. I loved working and I loved to work really hard. So I went in there and I completely transformed the way everything was done. I was very strategic, very organised. Sport's always on the weekend, as you know. So it turned out to be I was basically 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any self-care skills whatsoever. It was all burn and churn,
sure.
work hard. But I actually didn't protect the asset, which was myself. So after about 5 years of that, I got chronic fatigue.
Wow.
And, chronic fatigue, you can't see it. You don't have plaster. It's a bit like a lot of our mental health issues this day. You look fine, but you're not fine.
Yeah, for sure.
So people are like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I actually can't even function. So
Yeah.
I was in bed, couldn't get up, couldn't drive my car, couldn't shower myself, couldn't cook, couldn't go to the supermarket because the lights would be burning your eyes. So it was absolute hell, and I had my life ripped apart, basically. So it took quite a while to recover, and in that time I actually hired a life coach, which I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going into a very deep depression. how am I going to help myself here? So I just needed that guide, that lighthouse to go, well, today's challenge is to walk to the letterbox.
Mm-hmm.
And tomorrow is the letterbox and to the end of the street, and I had to record it. And I became a project.
Yeah.
Like my whole life became a project. Just me, not my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also been observing all of these athletes, our beautiful stars that we all worship and adore and bring the country together, is who are you without your job? Who are you without your sport? So who is Dusty Martin without Richmond? Or, all of these Olympians. And I saw the very dark side of sport where, in 20 years ago, nobody really cared about them after sport.
Yeah.
So there was no transition program, there was no education, there was no plan B in case you got injured or anything like that. So these poor people were losing their money, their marriages, becoming alcoholics.
Hero to zero.
In one day,
Yeah.
they become hero to zero.
Oh, yeah. It'd be the worst.
The worst.
Yeah.
And so I was really thinking about them, thinking, nobody really cares. But they were all telling me their problems. So I'd sort of been a counsellor as well as a sponsorship manager. So I decided to study life coaching to coach athletes into retirement. And I started my own business 20 years ago, and nobody, everyone thought I was a complete idiot.
Yeah.
Why
Just
would you
people would have
leave?
been thinking, you're making up this doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
What are you talking
what
about?
What are you talking about? Why would you leave your beautiful Jerry Maguire job flying around watching sport?
That's right. What everyone thinks is the life of
a life coach?
Yeah.
So it was quite horrific because everywhere I went, everyone's going, what are you talking about? It's a bit like, when personal training first came in and people said, why would I pay someone to take me for a run when I can go for a run myself?
That's right.
And it just took a while for the world to catch on, but it's really caught on now in a big way. And then my business turned very corporate because there is the corporate athlete as well, who is the guy or the girl who, has worked really hard, they've climbed the ladder, they've got to partner, they've got to director, they're burnt out, they forgot to build their life.
Yeah.
And they're coming to me going, I forgot. I haven't got my financial plan. I don't have any friends. I forgot to have children. I've ruined all my partnerships. I actually don't know who I am without the title of Peter from Macquarie Bank.
Yeah, your LinkedIn looks great, but your life doesn't so much.
So my job is to come in and build the person. Like, who are you without your job? If you can be grounded and calm and confident in who you are as a human being, and your job's what you do.
Yep.
And it's got to be exciting and work for you, but you are the business that you need to work for. So what are those pillars that make you perform at your best? So that's what I've been doing for that 20 years. And then I started to write books because we're not taught these skills at school.
Yeah.
So no one teaches you, how do you know what your values are? We're not taught. So you go out into the world, you've got no home base, you've got nothing to ground you.
Yeah, I don't think we're taught any of the important stuff.
Huh?
We're not taught any of the important stuff.
No, we're not.
Relationships, mental health,
Well, they're
money.
called life skills.
Yeah, that's right. It's all the stuff that if you have it all going for you, I mean, money's probably not as important, but it is kind of, we live our life.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But if you have all those things going for you, everything else will take care of itself.
Yes.
But it's the stuff that we don't get taught. Gets left behind.
And I think that's the foundational piece that's missing in the education system. But what I wanted to do with my books was, how do we create like the Donna Hay cookbook where it like looks pretty so people look at it.
Yeah.
It's not too heavy.
Yep.
But it's actually going to give you your life and wellness skills as a skill set that you need to master for life, that are just as important as your marketing skills and your sales skills and your time management skills, etc.
Yeah, well, all right, cool. You've given me a lot to work with there. No, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I think just on the life coaching thing, it's such a funny one. And I feel like even the difference between now and maybe 3 to 5 years ago, it's like it's much more of a welcomed, like established kind of career for people. People don't go, what is a life coach? Now it's kind of like,
yes.
But even even I remember would have been 3 years ago, one of my friends, he worked with me on my previous company. He started this podcast with me, and he's not involved in either anymore, but he just became a really close friend of mine. And he ran a gym. It was quite successful, and he just felt like he'd kind of lost passion, wanted to move on, and he became a life coach. And for some reason, all my friends on social media and stuff, they all wanted to go through me to have a crack at him. They're like, oh, how about Mac? He's a life coach these days. And they would, really peppering him. And I would always fly the flag for him. I'm like, yeah, but he's fucking great at it.
Yeah.
Like, because what happened was I was going through a rough period 3 years ago. And I remember Mac had just broken out to doing this life coaching stuff. And I said, mate, I want you to do me a favour. I want you to do whatever you do. I said, I'll pay if you like it. We didn't end up having a paid relationship. Yeah. But I said, I want you to help me. I want you to, I don't know what I don't know. I want you to,
Yeah.
And really, he was just like my pillar of support and my accountability coach. Because I had to do everything. Mm-hmm. And most of the stuff that he took me through some really interesting bits and pieces. But most of it I knew. Most of it I had to implement, all of it, really. Yeah. He was just there to really hold me accountable and support me through the process. And he's actually just excellent with people. And when people were, when he made this decision to become a life coach, everyone was kind of like, oh, how about Mac? He's a life coach. I don't know, all my friends, everyone that knew us both. I would say
people didn't place value on it because they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand what a life coach can do for you, you can't place value on it.
No, that's right.
But for me, the life coach saved my life.
Yeah.
Because without that person to guide, support, teach me new skills, hold me accountable, and hold my hand through that period of chronic fatigue where it's at its worst. I still have it today and have to manage it.
Yep.
And I still hire coaches for myself because I want to be the best possible version of myself.
Yeah, you want to make a well person better, or like just the you want to perform at your peak, I guess, in life in general.
I just think life is precious.
Yeah.
So I want to make my minutes count, and I want to know what my purpose, my direction is, and it's a bit like being a personal trainer. They need a trainer too. They need people to hold them up to get out of their comfort zone and become a better trainer. Mm-hmm. So I invest in training for myself as well.
Yeah, so you should. I mean, you can't coach yourself.
No, you
just
can't
coach
coach yourself.
You can't do it. So let me go back to just to the chronic fatigue period and your life coach through that. So obviously chronic fatigue, physically, you would be, it would have been hell, but so to get you back on track, this life coach in particular, what skills did he or she, did you say? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What skills did she teach you? Like, what did it actually look like step by step? I know you said little small steps. Let's go to the mailbox today. But what did it look like?
What a life coach can do also is make you look up. So when you're in something, whether it's your job that you're really focused on and everything else is not going too well or whatever, is she kept telling me to look up past chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
So let's think of life past chronic fatigue. So I always had this vision of getting better, what I was going to do next, what my next moves were, what did I want my 30s to be about. So I was constantly in a creative mode, even though my body couldn't do it yet.
Yep.
Because chronic fatigue is extreme pain. So I had extreme leg pain. All my nerve endings were, like fried. So don't touch me, don't turn the lights on, and absolutely do not make any noise. So still now in cafes.
Just don't be around me.
Yeah, just But even
I'm just going to be down here downstairs in the basement. You guys go about your day.
If I get a bit run down now, it's actually my ears that hurt the most.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if I'm in a cafe and you know how they have music on, I can't, it like penetrates my head.
Oh, wow.
So when your system's broken and cracked, it doesn't heal, so you have to manage it. And what I like to do is make sure people don't get into that position in the first place. Because if you have a self-care strategy and you want to protect the asset, which is yourself, you will have some nice boundaries to make sure that you don't self-destruct because you're hooked up on, there's no reward without great effort or whatever your mantra might be. It's actually a bit destructive.
Oh, my God. I have the biggest issue with the hustle community. Yeah. So I have a company, it's a closed freelancer marketplace, so we work business to business, mainly helping small business, solopreneurs and small business to try and get time back in their life and to try and scale their business or fill a need or whatever. But one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about it is, oh my God, do you know Gary V?
Yeah.
So
I know Gary V,
so Gary V, I follow him on Instagram, but I don't really fully, take in every bit of his content like a lot of people do and stuff. I like him. I think he's great. But he went, I reckon it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, like he had such a hustle mentality kind of mantra going on. And I've seen him fix that because so many people started pushing back because I think Grant Cardone and Gary V and all these kind of like famous entrepreneurs, it's like hustle till you die, or your business,
Yeah.
So it's not healthy, like we're not meant to be productivity machines.
Well, I think some people, like a Gary Vee, have a different constitution.
Yeah.
So if you don't know yourself and you're not connected to yourself, where you go, actually, if I did what Gary Vee said, I would die. Like, I would push myself into the ground.
Yeah.
So I need to see him as an inspiration to maybe go out of my comfort zone a
Yeah.
bit or push a little bit harder, but I can't be like him. Whereas
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people do is go, I'm going to take what he does word for word and I'm going to keep pushing myself, but they haven't really looked at, actually, does that actually suit me? And
Yeah.
does it work for my health and my well-being and what's going to happen to my mental health and
Yeah.
my friends and family?
Yeah, I think it's a shame that people get caught up in that lifestyle and the corporate ladder, or not even the corporate ladder. Say someone's running their own small business, a carpenter, or, for example, and they need to have, instead of having the 30 square house, they need to have a 45 square house with a pool, and they need to have a Mercedes and a whatever. It's so dumb. Yeah. I had definitely not similar trajectory to you, but somewhat similar. I bought my first property when I was 19 and had three properties when I was 22. And I was just focused on money. Like, I was like, the one success metric that I thought just tracked with success was just financial, not freedom, financial
accumulation.
Yeah, accumulation.
Of properties.
That's right. And I was like, as a 22, 23-year-old bloke, I was 10 times as successful by any financial metric than anyone that I knew, because I had, I don't know what it would have been, definitely a few $100,000 worth of equity in these properties that I had. And I was super unhappy, because all I would do was focus on where am I going to get the next dollar that I can invest over here. And it was just hustle and grind. And then I got sick when I was 23 and I was pretty ill for about a year, and I'm totally fine now. It was only a 12-month period, but through the middle of that 12-month period, at the middle of that 12-month period, I just woke up and thought to myself, fuck this, why am I focusing on all this side of my life? Like, this is not fun. I'm not having fun.
It's like you got on this fast merry-go-round and you
Yeah.
just kept spinning around.
Yeah. You can't get off, because I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
So my father helped me buy my first property. So rightly or wrongly, I didn't know till just really recently, my mum kind of mentioned it in passing, that a lot of my family were furious at my dad for helping me / making me buy a house at 19, because it definitely set me up to have financial freedom, and that was what he wanted to do. And I still think it was probably, if push came to shove, the right decision to do for your son. But also, a lot of my family were like, he's way too young for you to be pushed. So I was a labourer, because I didn't want to study. He's like, work with me, save up money, we'll buy you a house, and you can do whatever you want. And then basically that's what I did. But I like that. Yeah, it was good. But then I was a labourer, right? So I was making fuck all. Yeah. And I had to service the mortgage. I had to work as hard as I could while I bought a renovator's delight, and for 18 months, like every night for 4 or 5 hours. It was insane for a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid, So, and then, as you said, I was on the merry-go-round, and I couldn't get off. Yes. So, but I kind of woke up at 23 and was like, okay, cool, I'm very successful and I'm not happy. So, and I said at the middle point of that 12-month period, I said, fuck this, I'm out of here. So I Googled 100 greatest experiences in the world, and then I 100 places to see before you die and all this, and then I planned a trip, and then I travelled similar to you, like 40 or 50 countries over a 5-year period, and then came back a number of times, and I was lucky enough to kind of have that experience where I feel like I kind of woke up. I think I'll be successful. You need money. You can't, having no money will make you unhappy, but so many people, I don't know, they just...
It helps to make you happy.
Yeah.
But it's not everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess how much of what you do is based around that concept with, like your... Let's talk about corporate clients of yours, for example. How much
make a lot of money.
Yeah, they'll make a lot of money. Like, they're high achievers. How much of what you do is kind of like... Is it similar...
It's the same for everyone. So whether you're the 23-year-old labourer or you're the CEO of a corporation, my job as a life executive strategist is to say, let's look 10 years down the track. So you're then, instead of 23, 33.
Yep.
Let's reverse engineer. Why do you need to do all of this now, right now? It's not making you happy. What can we do? maybe in 2 years' time you buy another property, but you don't have to buy another one now. So we need to reverse engineer as to what you want for your older self that's better. So with the corporate, it's a bit the same. You're making all these decisions that are against your values because you don't even know your values. So let's go back to the bricks, to the foundation of the house. Let's get it all in order. What are your values? What's your purpose? What are the most important things to you in the world right now? What are we doing to support them? What's your strategy? What are your habits that support you to be that person? And where's your vision? Where are you going? If you don't have a roadmap, your brain is just stuck in the chaos of now and very reactionary. So you need that 10-year, I have a 20-year roadmap that sort of helps guide me on why I would make the decisions I'm making today. So that I'm really clear, very calm in my decision making because I've already thought it all through.
Yeah.
So the life strategists, that's what they should be doing. Counselling is to go and address the problems. A life coach should be actually helping you move forward with new skills. That's the difference.
It's quite interesting because a lot of the clients that you're talking about have probably sat down and had branding and vision and strategy development sessions around their business or the business that they're working.
Values.
Yeah, that's right.
They can recite them to me in a flash. But what about yours?
I got it written on the wall.
Yeah, what about yours?
Yeah.
Because you're the asset.
Yeah.
And you're the business. So you're the business that you're working for. And if you can't define the business that you're working for, then how do you know if you're making the right decision to take that job or buy that house?
Yeah, it's actually the hardest stuff to do in business or in life, I feel like, is define who you are and what you stand for. You know, it's really quite challenging stuff. And
liberating when you do it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, as our company, we have a certain motto and a certain value set, and that dictates. This is the second company really that I've run, and the first one had a great front end, as in brand and so forth, a great front end, but nothing guiding it in the back end. So basically we just had nice audio video. I mean, like, you know, we had great videographers on our trips that we'd go on, you know, so, but none of the brand was driven by, like, you know, what do we actually stand for? So, and the next time I started a company, that was one of the first things we put in place, and actually everything is built around that. And I've done some of that work myself personally, but it is definitely very challenging. And do you find it difficult trying to sit down with people and go through that work? Is it?
Oh no, I love it.
Yeah. But for them, is it hard to get it out of people? Or?
Well, no, because if you're a great coach, you can see it instantly in somebody, and you help craft and you help build their recipe. And you want to walk away from your coach with basically a mind map of your life, so that you go, oh, it's so simple. So the coach, really, my job is to make the confusing simple. And once we simplify it, life becomes pretty easy. Yeah. And pretty calm, you're pretty confident, you're pretty grounded. The wind comes along, you don't fall over because you really are quite settled in your own skin.
So if we're going reverse engineering, because I actually don't like planning that far ahead, business or personally, because there's so much that can change. Yes. But for the exercise you're doing, I can see the value in it for sure. And you got to try your best to figure out, okay, where do I want to be, and obviously reverse engineer. But if that's the top end of the reverse engineering funnel, like that's 10 years in the future. Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So you're going, I live in Melbourne, and I think I'm going to go to Sydney. I'm like, okay, great. Well, if we look at over 10 years, maybe what if we did Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, Darwin, and we ended up in the Maldives? What just happened to your brain?
It had lots of new stimulus over and over and over. A lot of it was probably scattered and rattled. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer should be.
You only thought you were as big as Melbourne. And now okay,
gotcha.
But what if we made a little roadmap that way, generalised, not specific? What you would start to do is say, there's that festival in Perth. I'm going to put that on my list. And actually, there's something I want to do in Darwin. I'm going to put. So what you're going to do is start populating a bit of a roadmap for yourself that you find exciting. Yep. So, and it suits your values. Okay, and you know the kind of person that you want to be. So that's what we want to build towards. So if you want to be a really well-connected, networked guy with like deep friendships, the plan would have to support your deep friendships, which means if you go and work in London for a month and then Singapore for a month, you're not going to have deep friendships.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we need to craft something that supports those friendships even more because it's so important to you, whatever that might be. So it's not about then you're stuck with the plan and it's boring. What the plan should do is give you incredible confidence so that when opportunities pass your way, you'll see most of them are a distraction. It's going to take you off course to what's in your heart.
Yeah. So cool. So I want to talk about this reverse engineering thing kind of like a funnel, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, or like let's do it the other way around. Let's do it like a pyramid. So this is 10 years, this is where you want to be. And then this down here, the bottom of the pyramid would obviously be, would that be your values? That's where that's the real core of like what everything should build from.
That's the top.
That's
the top. So
but I mean, what I mean by that is, I guess, the first thing that you need to know. Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
Okay. So here's you at the top.
Yep.
That's who you want to be.
I'm a little more.
You know,
I'm probably a bit solid than that.
Yeah,
yep.
So here is I'm really happy.
Yeah.
And here I'm the driver of my life. And I've got energy. And I'm like the number one. Okay. And down here's the grass. And a lot of people sit here where they're the passenger in life, which means they're reactionary. And they're a bit tired, maybe a bit resentful. And they're stuck in the grass. So your values sit here. Every time I do things that take me away from my values, I fall down here. And I feel stuck in the grass. I lose my energy. I'm a little bit resentful. But if I make all the decisions that help support my values, I'm always going to know who I am, what's important to me, why I'm doing this, and I'm going to understand, which gives me confidence.
Yep, cool.
Does that make sense? And
it makes perfect sense, for sure.
If I know where I'm going, I've got energy to give. Because, I'm really interested in that, so I'm going to start moving towards that field and that I'm going to support that cause, and I've got purpose. This got purpose. Here, I'm just lost in the grass, and I'm just reacting to whatever's happening, and I feel up one day, down one day, because I haven't got a map.
Yeah.
So that is life coaching 101 there.
Yeah.
Is how do we make you the best possible version for yourself so you know where you're going, you've got energy, you've got confidence, you're rock solid in your values. So every time things come your way, you know you're so solid.
I think that's really great because I often in the past have struggled with like decision fatigue, I guess, opportunity fatigue. I probably call it opportunity fatigue. Like I remember...
most of them are a distraction.
Yeah, and the other thing is most of them are a distraction. And the other thing is, so I had a session with my psychologist, this was about 2 years ago, and I was really, really worried about this decision. I can't even remember exactly what decision it was in life, but I remember sitting down with Daryl and I was like, right, Daryl, I'm so stressed out. I can't believe it. I've been anxious and not sleeping and blah, blah. I said, mate, here's decision A, here's decision B. There's one decision, sorry. Here's option A, here's option B. And I told him option A, this is probably what would happen, then this would happen, and then this would happen, and then this would happen. And then option B was like, then this would happen, and then this would happen. Daryl goes, what would the end result of option A look like? And I was like, well, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd probably live, happily ever after. And he goes, and what would the end result of option B be? And I was like, well, this, and this, but, I think I'd probably be pretty good. I'd probably work out pretty great. And he's like, well, figure out which path you want to go, make that decision and go with it. Like I was stressing about two great results. Which one should I choose, Yeah. And without having a roadmap, like that would have probably made it a lot easier if I was like, right, because does this lean in to my values or does it lean away from my values?
So what we do is we love our roadmap of all around the country and ending in the Maldives, but we're not fully attached to it. But what it's done is opened our brain and said, that I really love that pathway. I've thought of the other pathways. I don't like them. So I'm pretty easy now to get rid of all the distractions when people say, just stop off here. And I don't want to stop off there, actually, because if I keep going, I'll get there quicker. But we're outcome focused, which means what can I do today? When you have the map and this, You can focus on today. You know how people say be present today? It's pretty hard to be present today when you don't know where you're going. But if you know where you're going, it's like I can sail my ship today and really enjoy it because my brain has a program in it. Without any program in the brain, all the viruses are coming in and there's no firewalls and we haven't programmed it for the day of what we want to feel and how we want to behave and what our intention is. But when you've got that security and you understand it, then, you know, you can go through your day being quite present because you really understand who you are and where you're going.
Yeah, I think it's great. Everything that you're talking about is very similar to when I sat down with Tommy, who the listeners will know. He's the guy I mentioned was on the podcast. I sat down about 4 months ago. I was having a tough time. And he echoed very much what you're talking about now. He's very clear on he wants you to have a path and a purpose and so forth. And the pushback that I always had with this is a lot harder to pick holes.
This gives you freedom and choice.
Yeah.
And most people think it's a ball and chain.
Yeah.
Like our brain goes, oh, then I'm tied to that. This is freedom and choice. This is energy. Means I'm choosing the life I want. I'm choosing this opportunity. I'm not just getting freaked out by it. I'm going to sit. I'm going to choose. Do I want it or I don't? And then we move on. And we keep life simple.
Yeah, I like that for sure. One question I have, and I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. So, myself, yourself, Tommy, who I just mentioned, Mac, who I've also mentioned, everyone probably under these four walls at Redbox Studios. Most of the people walking around, you know, going to work in Collingwood and so forth. We're all very blessed with opportunity. Again, I'll use that word. But there's a lot of people that aren't as blessed with opportunity. And I use the example when I was talking to Tommy about something similar like this. Me, Mac, and Tommy actually it was a different catch up, and they were talking about values and purpose and so on and so forth. And I was kind of like, okay, cool, I get all that, but what about the people that don't have as much opportunity? So, like, I'll give you an example. So I remember, and it made me feel so bad. I was helping my buddy out doing some construction stuff. I used to be a tradie. Like I said, I was like, got into a trade industry, and I was helping my mate out because he was going to Vietnam and needed to do this job and whatever, and he needed help. So I was doing a day's work. My brother was with me, and I remember we were standing on this roof of this construction site, and there was a garbage truck driver, and he needed to turn left, and he was driving down the street, and then you could hear like the brakes slam, and he couldn't turn because somebody had kind of parked in the way or whatever a little bit, and he was like trying to make the turn, didn't make it, reverse back, didn't make it, and then this guy goes, we were just kind of half watching it, not even really watching it, and this guy goes, fuck, at the top of his lungs. And I looked at my brother and I was like, far out, man. It made me so sad. I was like, that poor bastard. Yeah. Like, his day, it was a beautiful day. It was like 22 degrees, sun was shining. And this guy, that's not what most people, when they're 10 years old, set out to go and achieve, is to drive garbage trucks around, you know. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of people that Australia, we're not given as many opportunities, and particularly lots of other places in the world. You know, you've travelled, you know, similar to me and seen everything, I'd assume. So how do you build this into people that don't have as much opportunity as we are blessed with?
Because they're the same.
Yeah.
So when you're in Europe, the person in the toilets that's cleaning the toilets and you give them the 10 cents or whatever, I've had conversations with those people that say, I'm serving you. I'm just as important as a CEO. This is my company. Okay, so it's attitude. He's driving the garbage truck. He can have the attitude of, this is really crap, because there's half the people in those buildings in the city are going, oh, this is really crap, even though I'm getting a great wage. Yeah. Or you can have the attitude is, this is my truck. This is what I do. This is feeding my family. Do I want any more for myself? What could I do about that? Or am I happy being stuck here? But they don't know who they are, a lot of them. But some of them, Uber drivers, I've talked to every Uber driver.
Oh yeah, I love an Uber combo. I've had some
great
conversations. They're great.
For a lot of them, they're like, I love this job. I get to talk to people. I'm making all these new connections. It's so fascinating and interesting.
I actually think Uber would be really, really fun.
Yeah, so it's interesting, unless you're picking up 16-year-olds at parties, that's not fun. So, you know, there's it's your attitude to where you're at in life at the moment and what you're doing. And one of the things that we all do as well is the old iceberg analogy.
Yep.
You know, we're judging people on what we see. Oh, he's the driver of the garbage truck. But he might have this unbelievable life under here that we don't see,
definitely.
and we're just looking in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have no judgment on people, and I'm just like, I hope that he's having a bad day with his truck, right? But he might like his job.
Yeah. It could have been the worst day of his life. He could have just been bitten by a bull ant.
It could have been. You know,
could have been bitten by a bull ant in the front of the cab.
You know, he might have had a fight with his wife in the
Yeah.
morning, and then this car's in the way and it's annoying. But that doesn't mean his life's terrible. So
No.
I think that we all need to take that responsibility for our own life and to love who we are, to protect yourself, to build yourself like a business of what makes me happy. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be different for every human being. We're all going to have to create our own recipe. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do as an executive strategist, is help you create the recipe so that you feel awesome.
Yeah. No, and that's a really good answer. It's just something that I've always, like with Mac and Tommy, they're very, very, I'm very much into self-development. It's just something that I've always challenged them on, and they came up with pretty good answers too.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I guess life is quite easy for us, is the thing, I feel like, to a degree.
That's your attitude, though.
Yeah, but I'll give you
there's other people who are born with a silver spoon, so to speak, who are really struggling.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
their attitude.
For sure. I just, I had this conversation the other day with somebody talking about travel because, who was I talking to? My friend Bruno, he worked with us from Argentina, now he's over in Melbourne. And we're just talking about like the different economic opportunities over there and like what his life's like and then blah, blah, blah. But I guess like Nepal is the example. We did Everest Base Camp a number of times with my previous company.
Yeah.
And I used to, I guess I'm not trying to push back. Like your point is very valid. I totally understand what you mean. And anyone can be happy, and it's all what happens up here, and that can be, molded and so forth.
And a lot of people don't know any different.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know people that are very happy with not overachieving. They're very happy and comfortable with just the little plot that they have.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I'm a high-achieving, A-type perfectionist,
Yeah.
overachiever crazy, who has had to modify just so I have longevity. But for those people, they have no drive. They might be happy just scanning at the checkout, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know that we shouldn't, me particularly, and the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is that I shouldn't, and we shouldn't begrudge ourselves of the opportunities that we have. It's not our fault that but I just...
But a lot of people don't want those opportunities.
No, that's right. But I guess the example that I was going to make was, people born in places where... The example I used the other day with the conversation with Bruno was in Nepal, when you're the firstborn child, you have to work to support the mother and father. Mm-hmm. And for example, the Sherpa community, so people living at Lukla and above, Everest Base Camp and so forth, if you're not really eloquent with your English, you likely won't be a guide. You'll likely carry building material up and down a mountain for 40 years. And that, I just feel like...
They don't know any different.
Yeah. But surely it's...
That's their sense of belonging. Unless they're an outlier who wants to break away, they actually feel like that's my purpose in life, is to carry that building material up and down. Yep. They're not questioning like you're questioning because they don't have that breadth of knowledge that you have.
Yeah, it's all relative
or the
kind
drive.
of thing. Yeah, and they are supporting their family, and I'm sure that's the most important thing to them, I guess.
That's their value. Their driver here is, how do I support my family?
Yeah, and it's probably the biggest value that you can probably have in life. So, no, that's definitely a good answer. I just, I guess I probably dwell too much on the fact I think we're really lucky, but...
I don't think you should dwell on that.
Yeah.
I think you should just focus on what am I doing today that supports my values and makes me feel great.
Yeah.
And it's not about anybody else.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's a good answer. So let me talk to you about the fact that, so you went into life coaching and so forth. What was it about all this stuff? So you work with high performers. So you could have obviously, as a life coach, worked with people that aren't inside of the sporting realm and coming out of their career and high-performing CEOs. But what made you want to go towards that direction out of interest?
Well, I started because I had 200 elite athletes that I was already working with as a sponsorship manager, and I'd already been the other side where I was looking for sponsorships for them. So I'd seen both sides. So for a good 10 years, I'd actually just worked with elite Olympians and the cricket team and footy players, etc. So my whole world was high performance. And so transitioning into just the C-suite was very easy. However, I get so much pleasure, and I coach a lot of people who are young entrepreneurs, mums at home, because that's their job, is being a mum, and it's really tough. It doesn't matter who you are. I will coach any human being on the planet. I've gone to Sydney. I've done a lot of workshops with Aboriginal women who are trying to integrate from the land into a city living environment. And I donate a lot of my time there. So it's actually everybody. I'm obsessed with this. What's your life plan?
Yeah, no.
And it doesn't matter who you are, but the speaking that I do a lot of speaking, is usually for medium to large companies. So if you've got a small company, I'll come in and do a workshop for the team. If you're a big company, I'll usually go on the whole road show around the country and talk about, what's your life plan and who are you without your job, which freaks everybody out. And then I write my books, which is the other part of how do I teach, where I actually think people, as you said, we're not taught at school, we're not taught at uni any life skills or wellness skills. So I have put them all into a whole suite of books where people can go, actually, I could try that skill, and does that skill suit my life? So breathing, knowing your values, doing a vision statement, creating a vision board, how to set goals properly to suit your values. All of those things, you could just pick one topic and go, I think I'm going to try that, because that's actually a life skill that will support me forever.
No, that's great. So just going on to the, going back to the professional sports people, for example, how much of a rough transition is it for those guys? I remember reading an article about Michael Jordan, pretty much my all-time, and most guys my age, most guys around the world would say, well, he would be the number one for sure.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the GOAT, He's just
my
the cool...
son says he's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the GOAT of everything pretty much forever, and in my eyes, and probably people, So Michael Jordan, let's use Michael Jordan for example, because I actually remember reading an article, and it was about... Michael Jordan. It was like a darker look at like Michael Jordan's life and his personal relationships with people, and it was basically like Michael Jordan is not a good guy. This is what the article was kind of like trying to portray. But it was kind of like the main thread around it was like professional sport and coming off that high. It was like, what would happen to you? How would you feel if you went from the king of the world to the bloke who used to be king of the world?
Yeah, it's like I've gone from strawberries and cream to vanilla.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And life becomes really vanilla for them because you're used to getting patted on the back, everything's free, you've got the cameras in your face, so you're actually living in a superficial existence.
Very much so.
Then when you come back and you're off that merry-go-round and no one's giving you free drinks anymore and patting you on the back and you're just you, that's really confronting. And the same thing happens to the corporate person. Who are you without Macquarie Bank or whatever your title might be? I had to experience the same thing when I left Bolle, because when I was at Bolle, I was sponsorship manager, I had lots of money. And I had like 1,000 free sunnies to give away for a year. So I had a lot of friends, right?
That's right.
I was everyone's
friends with random people in the street. Oh my God, there's a sunny lady.
God, it's just so nice to be a friend. Yeah, you can have a pair of sunnies. And there's a lot of contra in those days. So there's a lot of wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
And the day that I left, I went from 300 emails a day and being Miss Popular, free tickets to anything, to 0. And it was horrible. Yeah. It was. I had to really reinvent myself, and I am not my job. And and I know what the athlete feels like, and I know what the corporate athlete feels like, because I felt it myself, and it's devastating to realise actually that was just my title. It wasn't me. They weren't attached to me. They were attached to my title and what it would give them. So for the poor athlete, take football, for example, 3 of them will go into media. But 3 years later, the new youngies will come through and knock them off. So what's next? But what about everybody else?
Yeah.
What about all of the others who have to just go home to their house? There's no running onto the sacred ground anymore.
The MCG,
There's no fans. There's no trainer to support you, dietitian. There's no physio. You've had this team of structure and all the scaffolding just got taken away. And it's a big drop. And that's where I come in and say, well, let's build a really solid person so you don't need all of that stuff. So it is a terrible experience for, I would say, the majority.
Yeah.
To go back to vanilla life.
Oh.
When you've had sprinkles and, fairy dust over everything.
The ultimate adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be brutal. I've always kind of thought that. It's good now that people are. My friend Pam actually, she is part of the. I'm going to butcher the hell out of this because I really don't know what it is. But she's part of the.
She won't mind.
Yeah, she's part of the Australian Hockey-Roo. I don't know. She's part of athlete wellness.
Yeah.
She's a part of a new athlete wellness department within Victorian sport or Australian sport.
I should go and talk to her.
Yeah, she's great. You guys get along swimmingly. So, but she's so excited about it because it's actually in I forget exactly the association that she works with, but she's actually, it's a brand new area.
Yes.
And they haven't had any ability to help people coming out of that part of the sporting world ever. It's new, and they're building it themselves and so forth. And she says it's so rewarding, and every day is new, and they're really actually making great inroads in looking after athletes, because rightly or wrongly they are our absolute heroes, athletes, and
20 years ago when I first became a coach to coach athletes, I had 200 people that already trusted me, so that was fine for my business. But I went into the football world saying, we need to set up some programs for these people.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
And it's taken 20 years for this stuff to happen. And I was way before my time. I saw the problem too early.
Yeah.
And I think now it's really exciting that they are starting programs. They've still got a long way to go.
Oh, definitely.
A long way.
Definitely.
But I think a lot of people need one-on-one, someone to really work with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely probably still a long way to go. I don't know the inside scoop on what's going on in professional sport and so forth, but I think everything is trending in the right direction in that area. It goes along with it's mental health, really, isn't it? And I remember having a conversation with my grandma, and because my grandfather had depression all his life and ended up taking his own life when he was like 70, and we were just talking about it, me and my nan. And I told her how I struggle with this and that and what have you. And she said, you know what? You're so lucky to be born in this day and age because, your grandfather, he would never talk to me about it. He could certainly never talk to his friends and family about it because no one would do business with him. No one would respect him. And he certainly wouldn't be seen dead going and seeing a psychologist, 50 years ago. And that's changed, we're light years ahead of where we were. And we'll continue to get better, I think, as well.
I think we will.
I think so.
I think it's now quite acceptable for people to realise to support their mental health, whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar. It doesn't matter what it is, and we're all going to have something. Everyone's got something.
Oh, yeah. I've got plenty of bits and pieces.
So everyone's got something, and I've got chronic fatigue and I've got depression, but we have to build the recipe that's going to support you with whatever that issue may be. So your recipe is different to mine, that's different to the guy upstairs, to the girl over there, is that we need to own it and we need to understand it and we need to build the support structure here so that we don't keep falling down here. So here is all our habits and our support structures that keep us, in control and make the road as smooth as possible. So we need that habit structure and the plan sitting right under the values.
Yeah. So I'd like to actually ask you specifically, Shannah, and I reckon people that are listening would probably be thinking the same thing. So tell us about your
recipe,
your recipe, your values, your structure.
Yeah. So my values are really simple. They are health is first because I've lost my health. So it's health. Health is mental, physical, emotional and spiritual. There's 4 parts to our health. It's not just do I wake up and feel healthy.
Yep.
So every day, what am I doing to support that? So I've already done my exercise this morning. I've already set my intention. I've done some breathing practice. and drunk my litre of water. Like that's just all just done,
Yep.
right? And if I can do that 90% of my days, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But 10% I won't.
Yeah.
Because I had a really late night, or I
Yeah.
was on a plane, or
Something
whatever.
gets in
So
the
who
way.
cares? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But look at your percentage of.
Yeah.
Don't get angry at yourself if you haven't done it.
Yeah.
My second value is family happiness, and that doesn't mean is my family happy, because I've got a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, a dog, and a CEO husband. Like I can't make them all happy every day. So my job then to support that value is, am I showing up being the best version of myself?
Yeah.
Which means I have to focus on myself. And
Supporting them to be happy.
do the things that make me up here, so that I can go into the family and be the warm and nurturing mum, and I can be the fun and inspiring wife, and I can be the calm, confident coach, and I can be the fun friend. If I haven't looked after myself here,
Yeah.
I'm going to be down here, and I'm not going to. I can't give to anybody. The third one for me is achievement. You probably guessed I'm a bit of an achievement junkie.
Oh, you made your way onto Brotherosophy, so you can finally tick that box.
Tick that box.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So it's been on the bucket list. So because I'm an achievement junkie, I burn out really quickly because I love a to-do list and smashing goals.
You go too hard.
I go really hard, and and the drive is really strong.
Yeah.
So the achievement for me is pulling back. The achievement for the day for me is doing the breathing, maybe a bit of meditation, maybe a bit of journal. What did I do for myself today that will allow me to have longevity and not burn out? That's actually more important than selling 1,000 books and going on TV.
Yeah.
What did I do to protect this person and keep her up there instead of just like thrashing down here? So that's the values, which is really simple. And then there's just 2 simple strategies, which is how I start and finish the day, that are non-negotiable 90% of the time. So I said how I start and then how I finish. And I always finish with, when I go and brush my teeth, I go to the mirror, I check in with myself, which is your best friend. How's today? You know, you rock that. You sort of didn't rock that. Well, that's okay. What are you grateful for? Write a few grateful things down. Put on my nice face creams, which means I care for myself. Go into bed, I do my breathing practice in bed, you know, the yoga nidra. I shut everything down in my body. It's actually that simple.
Yeah.
So I can do that in any state, any country.
Yeah. It's really 5 or 10 minutes probably of really
that's
15
all it
maybe,
is.
I don't know.
I think people put all this pressure, as you were talking to before we started, put all this pressure on themselves. Oh, I've got to tick that I've done my meditation. I've got to tick that I've done my journal, and I've got to do all of these things. And that's more pressure.
Yeah.
So if we actually just keep it simple, I've got to move my body, eat well, focus on my sleep, because sleep's medicine.
Oh my God.
Sleep's the best medicine.
Key. Absolute key.
So rather than warming up with coffee every day and cooling down with alcohol, put that coffee away. So rather than using that as my drug, maybe I should use breathing as my drug, or some rituals that make me feel grounded or connected back to my powerhouse, which makes me remember this picture. This picture's actually on my mirror in the bathroom.
Yep.
So I can never forget. Do not go down here. Protect. Keep yourself up here. So this picture is actually really important to me and to my clients, because they understand the picture and they've built their own version of the picture.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I think everybody, you know, has the opportunity, whether you're the garbage truck driver or whoever you are, to build your little life plan that says, this is where I'd like to go. These are my values. These are my little pillars that keep me steady and connected to myself. And the rest of the life is going to be chaotic. It just is.
Yeah, that's life.
Weather and wind and pandemics, and it doesn't matter. That's all just stuff. But if you can stay grounded in the process and calm and don't panic, because you're pretty clear about who you are and how you're going to make today good for yourself, that's actually as simple as it is. And if we can stop overcomplicating everything, it'd be great.
Oh, that's good. I like it. Simplicity.
Simplicity is key.
And empathy, I reckon, is a good one as well, which I've had to teach myself a little bit.
You can be empathetic when you're up here.
Yeah.
You can't down here.
Yeah.
You're too tired.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
When we do self-care, it's not selfish. It's actually kind. And when we care for ourselves and we're up here, we can give to others. We can be compassionate. We can be empathetic. We can help. But we've got a nice full tank.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is what you should be working for, the full tank. Because when you've got the full tank, you can be all of those wonderful things. If you're going to go and destroy yourself, you can't be those things.
Yep, that's very, very good advice. So I saw on your website when I was doing prep before the show that you are doing Caminos de Santiago. Is that right?
Yes.
Santiago. What Camino Trail? Is that what it's called?
Trail. So, my wonderful other business partner in my second business that I have, which is a wellness training business for the corporates or for any company that actually wants to come and learn the skills.
Yep.
We run workshops for staff. We are taking groups to the Camino Trail in Spain, and we're doing an 8-day walk where we just do about 25 Ks a day.
Yep.
But we coach you while we're walking.
Cool.
And we do little mini workshops under trees. So rather
sweet.
than, it's like a big experience where, you've done base camp.
Yeah.
If you had a coach next to you talking to you about your life and your journaling and writing, and as you're walking, you're really digesting what we just talked about. You want to come away with some incredible epiphanies and insights into your life and a bit of strategy moving forward. So it's going to be awesome fun.
Yeah,
so we're going to do that every
sure.
year. So we'll take a group every year of people that really want to experience a Camino Trail, because it's usually a bucket list item.
Yep.
It's a pilgrimage, and it's quite a spiritual path. But take that time to actually work on yourself and take a pause out of the crazy life and go and think about yourself, write about yourself, work on yourself, get yourself a great plan. So when you come back into the chaos, you feel really good that you have your map.
Oh, yeah. You'd be fired up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Have fun.
Mac, who my great friend who I mentioned earlier, he ended up working for Adventure with me and started this podcast, whatever. We did Everest Base Camp. That's where we became friends.
Oh,
he was a client on our Everest Base Camp trip, and he ended up running the base camp trips for us in the end. And he always quotes that trip changed his life. Yeah. He had the clarity to be with himself and think. He sat down with like-minded, really people that were into self-development and really connect with all those, everyone that was on the trip, and just and that's what our company used to do. Really, is we would
because you let people press the pause button on
life.
Yeah. And you remove them from the chaotic playground and took them out just to observe the playground.
Yep.
And that's a gift.
Yep.
It's a gift for yourself, and it's a gift that you gave people, and hopefully that we will give people as well.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. I'm very excited for you. That'll be great. So, two things really before we wrap it up. So what's the best piece of advice you would give to someone? If you had one sentence that you could sum up everything that you stand for and how you can help people, what would that be, I wonder?
Know yourself.
Okay, cool.
You are a business. Protect the asset and let it grow, nurture it, nourish it, because you've only got one amazing, precious life.
Yep.
So if you don't know your best friend who's there from the first breath to the last breath, and you can't work with that person because you're really disconnected and worried about everybody else and everything else, this person's there the whole time, which is you. So becoming connected to yourself so you can make the best possible decisions for yourself, I think is the most important piece of advice. Cool.
That's great. All right, so Shannah, what does the future look like for you? Anything you got? Obviously, there's a Camino, which you're really excited about, but like anything, what does the future look like for you? 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever.
I'm super excited, and I'm not sure if I should say this in this young generation. I'm turning 50.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
half a ton. Raise the bat.
Exactly. So I'm actually really excited because I think life's just starting for me.
Cool. Great.
So I'm looking forward to my 50s and to get to 60, and I've got, travel plans. I've got plans for my business, for my writing, for new books. I really want to steep in the fact that I have 20 years experience in this industry and become sort of the guru, I suppose, because there's not many with that experience and working with the elite and bringing that down to everybody else. So I'm pretty excited about life. I've got 4 years left and both my kids have finished school.
Cool.
So
that'll be happy days.
I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Like?
That's good. You seem very fired up, which fires me up.
Oh, I am. And I want to be fit and I want to be agile. So, when people say, why do you go to yoga? It's because I've thought of my 75-year-old self and she's saying, go to yoga. Because I want to tie up my shoelaces.
I want to feel better. I want to feel good.
I want to be able to get in and out of the car really well, and I want to be able to do headstands. So I do headstand today for her.
Yeah, that's great.
And so
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
there's so much purpose and energy and excitement because I really understand what's going to be valuable for me in the future.
Cool. All right, and anything that you would like to plug? I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear more or know where to find you and everything that you offer. Where can people find you?
At shannahkennedy.com. I would love all of your listeners to get the life plan, which is my book here.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful book.
It does look very, very.
And
it's a very pretty book. It's a nice. It will sit nicely on a coffee table,
it's a coffee table,
which is good.
But it's full of life skills.
Yeah.
So it's like the Donna Hay cookbook for life.
Yep.
You know, like the simple strategies.
I have Donna Hay cookbooks, I think. Somehow I got given them one time. Yeah.
Because they work.
Yeah, they just sit on top of my fridge because they look really nice.
They look good. Okay, well, this is going to sit on the coffee table.
Yeah,
it
cool.
looks good, but you're going to open it and go, oh, I could do that. And so I'd love everyone to get a copy of this and buy one for their friends because this is a summary of life and wellness skills that we need that we're not taught at school, and it's done in a beautiful way so that you don't put it on the shelf, that you actually do keep it out there.
Yeah, cool.
And for those
Smart.
people that really do want to invest in their plan of self, that feel free to contact me and go through a program with me. Would be great. So it's shannahkennedy.com or Instagram Shannah Kennedy.
Cool. All right, Shannah, well, thanks for coming on the show. 2 handshakes in a minute. Bad for coronavirus, but good for the show.
But we're fine. We're fine.
All right.
We don't panic.
Yeah, that's right. All right, cool. And that's a wrap.
Yeah. Thank you.